Jagrudev. Jai Masters. There's a saying that one should live in the world but not be of it. That's actually very, very deep. Very deep. I read once that everyone thought the Bible says that, but that it doesn't. So I thought that was interesting. But certainly it is taught in the different traditions. Live in the world but not of it. What does that mean? Well, when Yogananda came over, an enlightened master, Hindu, Indian, and the ashram over in California got built, I heard, it's written, that in the mornings, the monks, the nuns, would be told to read the headlines in the newspaper. That was part of what they were supposed to do as part of their sadhana. They were to read the newspaper each day. But they were then told that they weren't to be bothered by it. They were to read it, know what's going on, digest it and understand it, but be able to maintain peace. That's what it means to be in the world but not of it. So, everyone wants to talk about that. The trouble is they don't want to listen. That's why I never talk about it. All right, what's going on? There's a planet, I heard tell, there's a planet spinning in outer space. There's really a number of them, and now we understand that almost every star, many of the stars have solar systems. So there's lots of planets. But just around our one star, right, please pay attention, around our one star, there are 8, used to be 9 when I grew up, poor Pluto. Basically, there's 8 planets orbiting this star. All right, before we go down to Earth, there are 300 billion stars in your galaxy. Do you know how large that number is? 300 billion? I once figured it out. If you sat in that corner over there, and I tell you to count to 300 billion, 1 second at a time, 1, 2, 3. But of course, you do realize that once you get up to 276 billion, 413 million, you can't do that in 1 second. But we'll ignore that and make believe that you can do it in 1 second. I think we calculated it would take 90 lifetimes. That's how many 300 billion is. That's how many suns, stars, there are in your galaxy. And there are 2 trillion galaxies. 2 trillion galaxies, each of which have hundreds of billions of stars. And you have 1 star. That's all, 1 star. And you're not the star. You're a planet spinning around the star. And I've told you many times before, 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. Now, do we have an idea of what's going on? Okay. How can you be bothered by anything that's going on? Now, I know you don't want to hear that. I know you don't want to think like that. I know your mind's going to say all kinds of things if I say that. But guess what? I'm going to say that. If you're this little piece of dirt, 1.3 million of them fit inside 1 star, and there's 300 billion stars in the galaxy, and 2 trillion galaxies. What is going on in this little piece of dirt is so statistically insignificant, it's ridiculous. If the Earth, you're all afraid of the Earth blowing up, people use nuclear weapons, right? No one would know, all right? There'd be some minor adjustment in the orbits of the other planets, and nothing else would happen in the rest of what we're talking about. So you need to be willing to use your intelligent, brilliant mind that you were given to come down to reality. That's the reality. If you're not in harmony with reality, you're going to be really messed up. And guess what we are? Really messed up. We literally live in a world on a planet that I just told you about, that if you drop some ketchup on your slacks or your dress, your skirt, at lunch, you're embarrassed to go back to work. Will somebody please tell me how that's reasonable? If what's going on is what I just said? And by the way, the planet you're sitting on has been spinning around that star for 4.5 billion years. How long have you been here? I think it's going to be okay. Now, it doesn't ever look like it's going to be okay, but at least are you willing to start with, is that reality? Yes. We've just talked about reality. I didn't make it up. It's not a belief structure. If you live that truth, you wouldn't have a problem in the world. You just walk around saying, wow, wow, wow. How can this be going on in this little tiny piece of dirt spinning around in the middle of nowhere? And it's just, wow. That's all. That's what you should be doing. So why is it so difficult? Why is it hard to live on this planet? Why is it not, okay, I'm in outer space. I used to do this with the classes. We're not earthlings. We're in outer space. I've called you together for a school trip. And we're going to go down there to that planet, that little blue one down there. And you can do anything you want when you get down there. Anything. Just think what you want to do. This person wants to be a fireman. This person wants to be a politician. This person, fine. Which one of you said, I want to go down there and be neurotic for my entire life? I want to go down there and be anxious, uptight, scared. I want to be the most miserable creature that ever lived. Who's going to pick that? You drop down into this planet, and you'll only be here for a tiny amount of time. It's been spinning around that star for 4.5 billion years, and you're going to be here for 80, 90, whatever it is. Nothing. How can you come down here and suffer? How can you come down here and complain all the time? If you don't like Earth, go to Mars. No, seriously, go to Mars. How long do you think you'd land? I mean, I'll give you a spacesuit so you won't die. Your body won't die. Your body's fine on Mars. How are you doing? There's nothing to do on Mars. When you land the first day, hey, I'm on Mars. Hey, look, there's red sand. Okay, how long is that going to last? Okay, there's nothing going on Mars. There's no living, not even a protozoa, not even an amoeba that we found. Anywheres. We've sent these probes out. We've landed on planets. We have telescopes. We have never seen, I'm not saying there's not life somewhere, but we ain't seen it. And yet you live on a planet for a few years that every moment, every second of your life there's something going on. And all you do is complain. All you do is think it's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have rained. Why? It's my birthday. Now that's really rational. The rain doesn't know it's your birthday. It's crazy. That's where we have to start. When we start talking about what it means to be in the world but not of it, you need to start with where your starting position. The starting position is you're on the most exciting planet that, well, I'm going to say is ever created. To me, the planet Earth is God's idea of Disney World. If I send you anywhere else, it's boring. It's never boring here. You're challenged. There's things going on. There's colors. There's sights and sounds. That you have 5 senses. There's taste and touch and smell. There's everything going on. And what do? Ew, that's a terrible smell. Oh, don't touch me. Wow, that's a nice way to say thank you. What if you sent your kid to Disney World and they came back neurotic? Oh my God, I didn't know everybody. They sat next to me in a little ride, and I didn't want to do it, and it was hot, and the lines were long too, and I didn't. Oh my God, why'd you send me there? Why did you send me there? What did I do wrong? Okay? All you do is come down to the nicest planet that, as far as we know, was ever created. It's not even a measure of 10 or 20 or 50 or 1,000 times nicer. It's 700 billion, zillion, quillion times nicer. Mars is 0. And yet you land on Earth and there's all these things going on. It's exciting. I can't even talk about it. It's incomprehensible. I told you, if you landed on Mars and you stayed there for a while, and all of a sudden a roach ran by, you would run after it, not to catch it, to have a friend. Okay, you wouldn't say, ooh, you say, wow, oh my God, I'm not alone. Well, guess what? You're not alone here. So there's your starting position. That's why I say I don't talk about these things. Or these things I talk about, but I don't talk about what we started talking about, what it means to be able to live in this world and interact and be of it, but be at peace. Okay? You have to start with truth. You can't start with your neurotic mind saying what a mess all this is. So you step back, you get perspective. You start with truth. And truth is, the planet is nothing. It's just sitting around in the middle of nowheres, and it's just, take a look. They take pictures now. Carl Sagan had them take a picture that's called the pale blue dot. Has anybody heard of it? They went outside Saturn, and they took a picture of Saturn from a distance. And in the rings of Saturn, there's this, you can't even see it. They marked it. There's this tiny little thing that looks like a star from your farthest star away. That is the planet Earth. And that's just Saturn. We're still in the solar system of one star. So you come back and you use your mind as a starting position. That is reality. Now what? Okay, let's come down and visit Earth for a few years. It's not hard. Why is everyone not living on the planet that way? Imagine all the people living life at peace. Why is that not happening? You can't just hear and scream it should be happening. There's a reason it's not happening. And you're screaming about it. It's just another thing you're complaining about. It is obviously not happening. Why? Buddha gave you the answer. Just take Buddha's 4 noble truths. And basically, the first noble truth of Buddha is all of life is suffering. Well, if what we're talking about suffering is what I just talked to you about, the fact that you're not living in a state of absolute well-being and transcendent to the whole thing, but you happen to be here visiting, he said the truth. The more I grow, the more I have such respect for Buddha. It's just amazing. How did he come up with this? Nobody talked like that before. He went out there and said, I have found the cause of all suffering. I've found the cause of all suffering. That's what he said when he came back from his being out there and starving himself and meditating and reaching nirvana and everything. He came back and quietly said, I found the cause of all suffering. And his other monks and people around sat there and said, well, I mean, you found the cause, old age is suffering, sickness is suffering. There's all kinds of stuff that causes suffering. What do you mean you found the cause of suffering? And that's the second noble truth of Buddha. It's very simple. It takes me a lot of words, didn't take him a lot. The cause of suffering is preference. It can be interpreted as desire or preference is the same thing. What's a desire? A preference. What's a preference? A desire. And that's what he said. The cause of suffering is desire. The cause of suffering is preference. They generally translate it as desire, but many of the Buddhists defined it as preference. I prefer preference. Why? Because as a Western thinker, you think desire means lust. Greed. That's what desire is. No. Preference is what he's talking about. If you have a preference, when you drop down here on this planet, you're going to suffer. Whoa, that's intense. And we're talking about some pretty high stuff that you have to be open. So first, you're not on a planet. It's a whole universe. You get to come down here and play. But if you come down here and play with preferences, I don't want it to rain today. Better yet, I don't want it to rain tomorrow. Okay? You're going to worry. All of a sudden, you're not okay. I'm going to worry that it will rain tomorrow. Because you had a preference, you will suffer. I want her to like me and not him. Suffer. I want the corner office. Suffer. I don't want to get old. Suffer. I want all the animals, like St. Francis. It was neat. I want them to come up and visit me and walk with me. Suffer. Anything you want or you don't want causes suffering. Well, we're being intense tonight. Only because I took you up here at the high level to start with, should you even be willing to tolerate that I'm talking like this. There's a universe and it's all unfolding and there's this little planet. And how about the kid who went to Disney World? How did that kid get upset and get neurotic at Disney World? He had a preference. I don't want it to be so hot. I don't want long lines. I don't want anybody I don't know sitting next to me in a little bucket on my ride. I don't want this. I don't want that. It's like the moment you have a preference, even Disney World, you'll suffer. Because it's not going to be the way you want. Why would it be? Let's do that rationally for a moment. You're out here, you haven't dropped down on the planet yet, and I ask you, what do you want to do? And you tell me what you want to do. But now you sit there and say, but I don't want it to rain more than 2 days while I'm there, because this is my vacation. And nobody wants it to rain on their vacation. I'll let it rain one day. All right, let's see which day. Probably Wednesday. Don't bother going down. You're going to suffer. So Buddha was right. The cause of suffering is preference. If you didn't have, I'm not saying not to have preferences, I'm just mentioning it to you. If you came down here and you said, wow, I wonder what's going to happen next. I wonder what everything's going to be like. The Bible says, what? Lest ye be as little children. That's what it's talking about. You're just open. You're just open to experiencing what's taking place. And we'll talk about how, remember, that's in the world, okay? You're going to learn how to work here, how to help, how to do things. I'm not saying you don't interact. Life is an interactive sport. But right now we're talking about at least being healthy when you step on the field. So if you have preferences about what's going to happen, I hope you see you're going to suffer. That's all you'll suffer. I love you with all my heart. But I don't like what you did. Don't do it anymore. That's called a preference. I really liked you and we went on 3 dates, but I never thought you'd show up in a bow tie. I'm not going out with someone in a bow tie. Okay, that's the end of that relationship. Now what? I didn't know you used to smoke. I didn't know you're so-and-so. I didn't know that. How many things am I not going to be okay with? Lots of them. Why? Because I have preferences. So you just finally come down to realize that is the cause of all trouble that exists on this earth. Period. People have preferences. Hitler had a lot of preferences, didn't he? And look what happened. Look what the result of that was. What if he didn't have preferences? We wouldn't have had World War II. All that man had to do was say, come on, man, you can handle reality. So you start with your basis of understanding the overview, the big picture. Then you come down to earth and you realize, okay, I'm one individual person standing here on this planet. It's enough that the planet, that 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun, and that there's 3 billion. I'm not going to do it again. I do it inside my head all the time. I will not let him. 50 years ago, I told him, you will not think of this. I used to, every time when I started, every time I got in my car, I sat and I stopped for a second, closed my eyes, and looked at the earth spinning through outer space. Every time I got out of my car, I stopped. Why? Because it's the truth. I have no right to ignore the truth. The truth is, I'm sitting on a little planet scooting around in a car. Okay? And then you just basically train yourself to understand this is your frame of reference, as opposed to this much smaller frame of reference. Okay, fine. So now I'm on the planet. It's tiny. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I told you, if I say to you, what'd you do today? The answer is very simple. A 360. You rotated on your axis. And that's all that happened. And it's been happening. I don't know how to multiply 4.5 billion times 365. You can take your calculator out. But that's how often it has just been doing that every day. What did you do this year? A big one. I rotated the sun. Well, that's happened 4.5 billion times. Can you handle it? Can you handle what happened today? It's called transcending the personal self. It's called raising your thought patterns to where you're not creating all this trouble. So basically now, okay, I've stepped down into the earth, but I have clarity as to what's going on. I can handle the reality that I'm here, and when I look out, I see things. Now, where did you get all these preferences? Because you do have them, and they do cause suffering. Where did you get them? My new book goes into great detail of where it came from. You did not start with all that. In the beginning, you were in the Garden of Eden. What does that mean? You didn't have preferences. That's what the Garden of Eden means. Everything was beautiful. There's all kinds of animals, there's all kinds of trees, there's all kinds of everything in the whole world. It's just amazing. That's the Garden of Eden. You don't have to do anything. You don't suffer. You just experience. It's beautiful. It's awesome. You're having all these experiences. But you were told specifically, don't eat the fruit of one particular tree. What always amazed me, I'm not a Bible reader, but I think it's neat, is what was that tree called? The tree of self-knowledge. I thought knowledge was a good thing. It didn't say knowledge. It said self-knowledge. You brought your consciousness down to this little, tiny little thing and said, I matter. That's self-knowledge. I matter. What I want matters. I have preference, and they're real, and I want them, and I'll only be okay if I get them, and if I don't get them, I'm going to suffer. That's what that fruit is. It's obvious, because that's what did it, isn't it? You can do anything on this planet, walk around, enjoy whatever the heck it is. Just accept what's going on. When it rains, it's cold, it's hot, it's hot. When people like it, they like it. When they don't like it, they don't like you. It's okay, they're fun. But the minute you taste of self-knowledge, or what you're about is your ego, what you're about is these preferences I have. Okay, where do they come from? What happens is, you're in there, you're conscious, you experience reality. But not everything feels the same. Cold doesn't feel the same as heat. Somebody who likes you doesn't feel the same as someone who doesn't like you. The Buddhists say everything has its nature. Each has its nature. It has its vibration. When it comes into you, it does not feel the same. They once asked a great master, when you reach the fully enlightened state, do you ever feel reactions? Do you ever feel anger? And Ramakrishna said, yes, but it's like riding on water. It just comes in and it passes through. You have experiences. You're supposed to have experiences. In the world, see, you're supposed to have experiences. There's nothing wrong with having experiences. This person walks up to you and says, God, you're the most beautiful person I've ever seen in my whole life. You look like you walk on water. Are you a saint or an angel or something? Well, that's kind of nice, all right? Somebody walks up and says, what's wrong with you? Your nose is too big and your eyes, they're not even even. What happened? Doesn't feel real good, okay? But they walk it, they say it, and they're gone. It comes in, you experience it, and it passes through. I'm telling you, it's meant to be that way. You have experiences. That's what makes it interesting. You don't go to Disney World and nothing happens. You have experiences. But if you don't have preferences, you experience the experience, and when the experience is over outside, it's over inside. Oh my God, there's a novel concept. It comes in, you don't not, this is, by the way, is what it means to be in the world but not of it. You're not in the world. You're experiencing cold, you're experiencing heat, you're experiencing snow, you're experiencing birth, you're experiencing death, you're experiencing marriage, you're experiencing divorce, whatever it is. There's all kinds of experiences to be had. And they're different all the time. That's what's interesting. It's an interesting place. You don't get bored. It's very interesting. It's a happening place. It's a happening place. It comes in, you experience it, and I'm telling you, nothing has ever stayed in one place. All the atoms change, everything changes. Nothing that ever happened in your life keeps happening. It's new. It just comes by, passes by. Your experiences pass by. If they pass by inside of you, you're fine. In fact, you're more than fine. Experience is a great teacher, is it not? Every single thing you experience, you learn something. You don't even have to try. You have to memorize it. Go climb a mountain. If you climb a mountain once, you'll do better the second time, won't you? Pick up a baseball bat. Try to hit a baseball. You will be better next time. You may not be good, but you're going to be better next time. Every single experience you have teaches you, trains you. It's not a matter of memorizing it. You just experience it. That's what's supposed to be happening. You've been sent down to a planet that's a teacher. It's awesome. It's unbelievable. Now come back up for a moment. There's nothing going on anywhere. It's so empty. Yet you're in a place that is always teaching you. It's always happening. You just experience it. Everything. And if you're like that, then the moments unfold. They teach you what is in front of you. You learn. There's always something to learn. And so it comes in and throughout your whole life. You know, that which happened to you when you were 5, if a similar thing happens to you when you're 30, it's not the same. And then when you're 60, it's totally different. So that's neat. You're changing. It's changing. Isn't it fun? Look what God created. Give me a break. It's the most interesting video game that was ever created in the history of the universe. All right? You play a video game. Once you play it enough, even the real hard ones, you figure stuff out. This one is all new. It's you change, it changes, everybody changes. Oh my God, this is pretty complex. It's worse than 16,000 dimensional chess. Okay? There's no figuring it out. Once you think you got it down, somebody leaves. Somebody gets sick. This happens, that happens. You know, a meteorite falls in your house. I don't know. Anything can happen. It's a happening place. And everything that happens teaches you. You become a greater being because of every single experience you had, if you're willing to experience it. Now we're going to get down to what happened. What went wrong? Because all of that is what's happening. You understand that? You are having these experiences. Ever since you were born, you're having experiences all the time. And it's exciting, and it's educational, and it's growthful, and so on. So what happened? Not every event feels the same. Being there when somebody's born is not the same as being there when somebody's dying. There's different vibrations, different things. So some of the vibrations that come in, you can't handle. You in there, the consciousness. What do you mean can't handle it? You're not willing or able, I'll be nice to you, not able, willing or able, to let it have happened. It's really weird. I hate to say it like that. You're not willing to have it had happened. I'm not willing that she left me. I'm not willing that my heart hurt. I'm not willing that my mother died and I didn't make it at the last minute to say goodbye. I'm not willing for that to have happened. Have you ever done that? Ever sat there inside and said no? What are you saying no to? Reality? It happened. It wouldn't be in there if it hadn't happened. It happened. It came in here. And you couldn't handle experiencing the reality of what you were experiencing. Now, what do I do if I can't handle reality? Well, I can't change reality. It happened. She said that. He did that, and this happened. It actually happened. No one has ever changed reality. You can't make what happened not have happened. However, when it comes in and you're experiencing it, that's not the event that you're experiencing. It's the image of it, the experience of it. The event already went away. I was like talking about rattlesnakes. The rattlesnake was there, it's scary inside, then it crawled away. So then the experience can go through. But no, it won't. I won't let it. I didn't like that experience. Therefore, I resisted the experience. You didn't resist the event because it already happened. But you resisted the experience of the event. Now I'm going to go very slow. Do you see the difference? The event actually happened. The person died. The person was born. The person left you. The person did this. That happened. You broke your arm. I just named the event. The event happened, but you couldn't deal with the fact that it happened. It came in, and you didn't like what it felt like inside. So what did you do about it? You didn't say, oh, well, into every life some rain must fall. That's my next experience. I don't want to get messed up because there'll be another one in a minute. There's always new experiences. You didn't do that. You said, no, not on my watch. No, that is not going to happen on my watch. But wait, we just said it did happen. I don't care. That's so powerful. I don't care if it happened. It shouldn't have. And I don't want it to have happened. Therefore, I'm not going to accept that it happened. Okay. I don't want to get into psychology, but what does that mean? It happened, but I'm not going to accept that it happened. We have words for that. Psychology has words for that. Suppression, denial. That's what it is, isn't it? That's basically saying, I'm in here, and I don't want this to have happened, and I can't deal with it. I can't deal with this. I cannot deal with this. All right, well, you're going to have to deal with it because it happened. So what does it mean when you say, I can't handle this? You have said that, haven't you? I can't handle this. I can't deal with this. It basically means the event happened, but the experience inside of the event, I have the ability to push it away. And that's the essence of everything we're going to talk about. I have hands inside. My hands outside couldn't do anything. When it came in a win, I couldn't do anything about it. But I have hands inside. So do you. I can mess with stuff inside, can't I? I can push it away. You don't have to let everything touch you totally, do you? No way you let it touch you. No way, not on my watch. And so you use your will, those are hands of will, inner will, to push the event away. And that is the beginning of the fall from the garden. That is the cause of every problem that exists on this planet. That is why everybody suffers. That's why there's wars. Every single thing that you want to say, why is this happening? Because of that. Because somebody, or a bunch of somebodies, picked things that they couldn't handle, pushed them away, and that's what creates preferences. If you push away the fact that somebody died and you didn't want them to die, so you pushed it away. Now, 20 years later, somebody says, my father seems like they're going to die, and all this pain comes back up. Why? It's not happening. Your father died 20 years ago. Yeah, but not really. You didn't process the experience of your father dying. You pushed it away because you didn't want to feel it. You didn't want it coming all the way in. No, I don't want that to have happened. Anytime you say that, I can't handle this, and I don't want that to happen, you push away the event inside, not outside, because the event happened, but you push away the processing of the event, the finishing, letting it come through, all right? It came through. Yes, my father died. It was an amazing experience. I love him with all my heart, right? And I've gone on to wherever he went, and I'm done. You're done with your father? No, there'll always be a memory of my father. There'll always be love of my father. But I processed the event. Next time, 20 years later, or even 10 days later, I don't know how long the Jews sit Shiva, I think it's called, right? Who knows that? I should know, I'm Jewish, right? But there's a thing called sitting Shiva, where you're supposed to take a period of time that you put aside to process the death. But the idea is not just, isn't that neat? You put the time aside, you're in silence, people come. But when you're done, it's supposed to be done. That's the idea of that. And it's not a lot of days, by the way. You're supposed to use that time. Isn't that amazing? That it was actually the foundation of this was built on what we're talking about. You're supposed to be able to let the experience pass through. Of course it doesn't feel good. It comes in and you have this experience. If you don't process the experience, what does that mean? Let it pass through. Do you know what percentage of your life's experience you let pass right through? 99.99. Every tree you see, every leaf you see, every blade of grass you see, every sound you hear, every sunset, every sunrise, every cloud, every single thing passes right through, doesn't it? It's not that you don't experience it. You do experience it. But you don't resist the experience. But if you resist the experience, then it gets stuck in you because you didn't let it pass through it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Be in the world, but not of it. We're getting real close to talk around it. It's not that you're not experiencing life. That's why Yogananda told the people, read the newspaper every day and then let go. Process it. Handle it. But, there's no buts. It's in print. That's what happened. And then we can talk later about activism and changing things. Don't think I'm going to ignore that. I'm not going to ignore that. But you have to start with understanding that if the event took place, it took place. The fact that you can't handle it is your problem. Because when you can't handle it, you suppress it, you resist it, it stays inside of you, and it develops your preferences. That something hurt you, I don't ever want it to happen again. I don't want anybody that was involved to happen again. I don't want to live in that state. People do that. You had a tough divorce. I guarantee you, the restaurants you used to eat at, you don't go there anymore. That was our song. You don't listen to it anymore. If that song comes on radio, you change that station so fast. That's because you stored it inside of you. You did not process what took place. You said, no, I can't handle this. And therefore you pushed it away. So now you're stuck. You're stuck. That's what creates preferences. Remember Buddha said, the cause of suffering is preference. I almost quoted you the third name patriarch. It's my favorite saying in the whole world. One of the deepest writings ever written. The great way, meaning enlightenment, liberation, the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. That's deep Zen, deep teaching. And it's the Buddhist teaching, aren't they? The cause of all suffering is preference. Now you see where preferences come from. And that's the truth. I don't know. I'm a meditator. I've done this for 50 years. I wrote it clearly in a book. I don't know if all psychology agrees with me. I think in the end they do. If you really got down there, Freud was real big about that stuff that's suppressed down there, isn't he? Causing people's behavior. And you understand, Freud was not dealing with regular guys like you. He was dealing with institutionalized patients. He was dealing with mentally ill people. And that's where he formulated all his theories of what was making them act like that. And he said they had suppressed stuff in there. I'm not sure he went all the way down where we're going as to how, why, and what, and all the deep stuff that meditators... If you meditate, you understand all of this stuff. Why? Because you see it happening inside yourself. You see you got disturbed because somebody didn't say hello. What in the world? I tell you, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet. They didn't say hello either, but you didn't have a preference about them. The moment you create a preference, you are in big trouble. Unless the world happens to unfold exactly the way your preference is. Then you're happy as a lark. And that's called conditional well-being. So that basically now we've hit a very strong point, which is that's why you're not okay. You're not okay because things are happening a certain way. You're not okay because the way isn't the way you want. And so you've developed a whole preference system. And only if it unfolds the way your preferences are you okay? Are you happy? If it doesn't unfold the way your preferences are, you're not happy. If it unfolds the way you really don't want it to be, then you suffer. You get all upset. So here's the basic foundation of what happened when you dropped down to earth. Instead of having fun and realizing I'm on a planet for a little while, for a very little while, 80 years, and I can't handle it. That's just amazing. How can you not handle it? It's an amazing place, right? But I can't handle it. And the reason you can't handle it, because you started with this game of saying, I don't want this to have happened. How many things did you say that about over the course of your life? I don't want this to happen. Like when your sister got the colored bicycle you wanted when you were 5. Do you like your sister now? Do you go bike riding with her? Do you like the color that her bike was? I'm telling you, it develops your entire preference system. Because you suppressed it, it determines everything. And you have done this every day of your life about almost everything. Right? And then once you have these patterns inside and they develop enough preferences, then you store more patterns because things that didn't match your preferences hurt you. Just get yourself a whole bunch of preferences about the weather and about how people behave and about what you're going to do today and about what job you were given at work and about what you look like as you get older. You just go and do all that stuff and you're going to suffer. And then every time you suffer because of your preference, that's another form of suffering, so you suppress that. And by the time you're done, of course it's a mess. Now everything has to be exactly what you want, and it never is. So you start getting scared. You're afraid to express yourself, afraid to love because you might get hurt. And so now you're sitting on this beautiful planet, spinning around for a few chucks around the sun, and you're not okay. Now what are you doing about it? If you're a regular human being, and please don't be that, you go out there and say, I'm only okay if the moment in front of me unfolds the way I want it to. I'm only okay if I get the parking spot at work that's reserved for me and nobody parked in it. And just every little thing in your life is supposed to unfold the way you want. This person has to treat me the way I want to be treated. Everything. And there's a lot of things. And so you go out there and you do this thing which I call manipulate. You go out there and attempt to manipulate people, places, and things so that they unfold the way you want them to. And you're very good at it. If they unfold the way you want them to, well, you give them flowers and accolades. You speak really nice about them. All right, so now we have come, it's a big talk, we've come down to earth from the whole universe. We got ourselves good and screwed up because of what? Not because of what happened, but because we couldn't handle what happened. We didn't process as it came through. And therefore we carry inside of us these blockages that we're only okay if we can get the world to match what we need. So now we're stuck there. Now what happens? Now I can explain to you why the newspapers are the way they are, why the world is the way it is. Why? Because every single one of you have different blockages. Don't you dare think that you met him 3 months ago and we're the same. You are not the same. It's like two ships crossing in the night. They just happen to be passing by that point. That person has totally different blockages than you do. They have totally different preferences than you do. And it's going to show up. You know, born yesterday? It's going to show up, all right? And then you got to kind of figure out how to get along. That wasn't hard during the honeymoon stage, was it? The honeymoon stage is, wow, this person's fulfilling my preferences. Well, they filled enough of them to where you stopped thinking about the other ones. They pulled you away, blew you away. That's beautiful. It's beautiful. But don't kid yourself. You got a lot of stuff in there, and they got a lot of stuff in there, and that stuff's going to not always line up. So basically, now what happens? Now I'm going to go out there and attempt to manipulate you and everyone I meet, which is a lot of people. That's a lot of stuff. And not just people, weather, circumstances, right? I want to manipulate every single thing so that I have control. That's what control is about. Why do you need control? You didn't build this planet. Why do you need control? Because of what I just said. Because I have all these preferences and I suffer if I don't get them. There's just all kinds of stuff going on. So I need to control you and everybody else and every moment of my life so that it happens the way I need it to, so that I'm not hurting too bad, so that I can be relatively okay. But since every one of us have different preferences, why? Because we had different experiences. They programmed us. That means you and I don't really want the same thing necessarily. Or maybe you and I do, but she doesn't. So this is why there's so much disharmony. It can't not be that way. Don't sit there and ask why there are wars. That's like asking why do people get divorced. It's like asking why do people fight. That's why there are arguments. Because everybody built this thing inside themselves and end up with all these preferences, and then they want to manipulate everybody to get it their way so that they can feel okay, and they're serious about it. Why? Because I don't want to suffer. You don't want to suffer. But to make you not suffer, this has to happen. And me not suffer, that has to happen. And they happen to be polar opposite things. So we've just had the foundation for a world that's not so much fun, is it? And you look out there and you see all this disharmony. You are right. It's completely disharmonious. Because everybody is blocked with their own personal blockages, and the only way they know how to be okay is to take their strength and their power and their looks and their whatever the heck they can get their hands on, whatever it is. It's just there's all these different ways you get to manipulate everybody to get it the way you want. Well, it doesn't work out real well. I don't think I need to go any further down. We just fell down from the garden, didn't we? Do you see where it will go? Do you look at the world around you now? But don't look at it now. Look at it during World War II. Look at it 50 years ago. Look at it 100. It hasn't never changed. Because the only way it would change, really change, is if you don't have these blockages inside of you and you actually process the reality that unfolded in front of you so that you come into the next moment open and receptive. And then everybody can get along. Doesn't mean we're going to have it our own way. There is no, you know what the way is? The Tao, the way? The way it is. Christ said, let those who have eyes to see, let them see. Let those who have ears to hear, let them hear. It is what it is. There it is. Start by handling it. They're all Christ's teachings. Christ literally said, don't go to bed at night without working out a problem you have with your neighbor. Forget tomorrow. Don't even go to bed tonight without it. Wow, these are the teachings, aren't they? In other words, don't build this stuff inside of you that you didn't handle the situation. Work it through. If you need to talk to a person, wouldn't that be nice? Can we just all sit down? And the answer is no. Why? Because I have these patterns that are so strong that if you even say what I don't want to hear, I freak out. If I even think that you might say what I don't want to hear, I don't like you. That's why it is the way it is. So don't sit there and complain about the way it is, because now you understand why it is the way it is. And the only way, it's not going to change by laws, it's not going to change by guns, it's not going to change by all this. That's just another form of suppression, control. It's going to change when enough people wake up, and it really has to be everybody, when people wake up and they realize, I can handle these things that are happening. I can handle what's in front of me. But now it makes it harder because you stored all the stuff you couldn't handle, and now it's all built up, and it really is difficult to live with. And so basically now if somebody says, come on, you can handle it, you can handle that this person doesn't agree with you. No, I cannot, because the very thought of it hits all your stuff. And I'm not just talking about them, I'm talking about you. It doesn't matter if you're a spiritual being, it still hits your stuff, doesn't it? And then you get all like this. So the question is, what can you do as an individual to help the situation? Remember, it's just a tiny planet in the middle of nowhere, but still, it is what it is, and you're here, and you're dealing with it, and all you really can do is work on yourself. Otherwise, you're going to manipulate everybody to be the way you want them to be. You got an opinion? Of course you got an opinion. It's all based on your preferences. It's all based on what you think will make you happy and what you think will make you sad. Well, that's what they're doing too. And so basically you say, I want to experiment with what it would be like. That's how I want you to live. You live a life that if everybody lived it, there'd be peace. That's all you can do. You can't change everybody else. But you can set an example, and that's not what you do it. You do it to experiment with, can a human being be clean? Can a human being come into the day without bringing all the stuff from yesterday? Again, I'm a nice Jewish yogi. I love that Christ said this stuff. Let the evils of the day be sufficient unto the day. In other words, be finished with it when it's over. That's what that says. I mean, it really says it over and over again. It says, if you're called to court, don't worry about what you're going to say. You'll know at the moment the words will come to you. Every single thing was be here now. He should have written be here now. Okay? That was the essence of the teachings. So basically what you can do is be in the world but not of it. I'm in it. I am not avoiding it. I'm experiencing it. I'm reading the paper. I'm seeing what's going on, and it's passing through. I can handle this. I can handle that everybody's got opinions and they all disagree, and so there's all this mess going on. If I can handle it, it means others could too. We can actually work on ourselves. And so basically, as you learn to handle things, what does that mean? I already explained it. As you fell down, you know how to get back up. Events will happen to you during the day. Every single day. Don't worry about the big stuff. Every single day. The weather won't be what you want. The car won't start. Somebody will say something you don't want them to say. Somebody won't say something you want them to say. Every single day, every single hour, every minute. Stuff is going to go on in your life that hits your stuff. Can you practice letting go? That's what everything I teach, isn't it? Now you see why. Can you practice letting go? Can you practice saying, this is just my stuff, and everyone's got it, and if I keep mine, it's going to cause more trouble in this world. I'm polluting the world with my stuff. I yell, I get anger, I get fear, I get anxiety, I get all this kind of stuff, I got my opinions. I'm polluting the world with the garbage that's inside of me that I can't handle. Well, what should we do? Learn to handle the different things you go through every day. The little things, not big things, just the little things. The weather, the this, the car in front of you, the fact that the traffic light changed when you were in a rush. Come on. It's like you cause yourself. One of the lines in the new book, that's my favorite, Oprah said it was her favorite too, right, is the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you. And I've never said that line and not seen everybody shake their head, yeah. How about we stop doing that? It's like, maybe we should stop bothering ourselves. Maybe we won't be bothered. So you practice each day letting go. What I asked you to do is a moment took place, it's reality. Can you process it? Can you let it go through? And you're going to find out that you can't. Even the stupidest little thing, all right? You could have a thought. I wonder what she's thinking. And you get yourself upset. It doesn't take anything, does it? I wonder why he did that 3 years ago. You mess yourself up. Start practicing letting go. Practice, I want this to pass through me. Yes, it hurts a little bit. That's why I stored it down there. I stored it because I didn't want to feel the pain. And now I have to be willing to feel the discomfort. And so basically you keep letting go, and you will get higher and higher, and then an amazing thing's going to happen. You'll stop being bothered by everything. Why? Because you stop bothering yourself about everything, and you learn how to process things. Then bigger things will come up, you let those, and eventually you'll notice that there's this flow of energy inside of you, a very beautiful flow, a very upward, uplifting, beautiful flow of Shakti, of spirit, of chi, call it whatever you want. Energy, I don't call it energy. It's coming up, and you realize, I'm okay. This is nice stuff in here. You made it nice in there by getting rid of the garbage that you stored in there throughout your life. And all of a sudden you get this beauty, and next thing you know, you like people. Why? Why would I not? They're fun. They're like toys. Say something to them and see what happens. When you were little, if you're a girl, you had a doll. You could put, the old days, you had a string. You pulled it, and you didn't know what she was going to say. Hello, Mommy. Right? And that's what people are. You say hi. You don't know what's going to come back. How are you doing? Like, they're fun. You don't need it to be any special way because you're fine. Then what happens is the energy goes higher. Then the energy goes higher. And ultimately what starts to happen, the real spiritual growth, is the energy so beautiful inside of you because you're not holding yourself down, and the world can't bring you down because you're in it but not of it. You're of inside. But I'm interacting with the world. But it's fun. You will eventually get to a point where so much energy is flowing up inside of you that it's almost like I can't handle the energy. What do you mean? It's so beautiful. You ever been so in love that you can't bear to even be inside yourself? It's so much love, right? That's what it starts to feel like inside. It's just so beautiful, and you just want to be closer to it. And so you realize you have to let go of yourself. You have to let go of your individuality. You just start to fall back into this beautiful flow of energy, and it starts pulling you into it, like if you just fall into a water flow that pulls you into it. And then you start to go into ecstasy and nirvana, and all the beautiful stuff that they all talk about is inside of you. But that's because you let go of all this garbage, and the world can't touch you now. They can't. It doesn't mean you don't help. If you need to protest, if you need to help, if you need to donate money, if you need to, run for a political office, I don't care. Whatever it is, as long as you're not doing it because you're not okay. I want you to do it because you are okay. I realize how beautiful it can be. Let me bring some of this light. I'm not doing it for me. I don't need to do for me anymore. I'm not suffering. I'm feeling joy and ecstasy. Well, then share it. And there's some in the Bible that says you don't light a lantern and hide it under a bed. You put it on a windowsill so it can guide others. This is all the same teachings. So you have this beautiful energy flowing inside of you. Share it. Be beautiful, be whole, be complete, and then express that into the world. All right. So we went a long way, didn't we? But we never left the fact that it's a tiny little ball spinning in the middle of nowhere. I hope you're having fun. Very good. Jagrative.